Welcome to Dr. Bingo Fairmont's Management Minute. Today, Dr. Fairmont is actually on a Segway tour of the city of Tampa.
I love Segway. I've done Ybor City, I've done downtown Tampa, I've done St. Pete, Clearwater. I love me a Segway.
Well, you should have gone with Dr. Fairmont.
Man.
Instead, you're here with me, Dr. Russell Clayton, Dr. Adam Shoemaker. We're going to represent in Dr. Fairmont's place. We're coming to you from the St. Leo University Donald R. Tapia School of Business. How you doing, Shu?
I'm doing all right, Russell. How about yourself?
I'm doing great.
Good news. Listen, speaking of today's topic, and I won't talk about what it is yet, but I was curious to know more about your past. What was your first job that you ever had?
My first job, when I was in high school, I worked at Snowbiz, the snow cone place, the little hut.
Snowbiz, the Snowbiz hut.
Yeah,
Man.
a little hut that's like 10 by 10. And you serve snow cones all day long.
That's pretty sweet.
The best part of the job was that we could trade the local pizza places like Domino's and Pizza Hut nearby. We could trade them snow cones for pizza.
Really?
It was glorious.
You probably need a lot of snow cones for a whole pizza, though.
You do,
Yeah.
but they weren't my snow cones. Unfortunately, in this job, we don't get to trade anything for pizza.
There is no snow cones in this job, or not too much anyway.
What about you? What was your first job?
My first job when I was 14 years old in high school, I worked at the aftercare program with the YMCA for elementary school kids.
Okay.
So I did that for a couple years.
Did you beat them in dodgeball?
I did once in a while.
Okay.
Yeah, so we did play a lot of capture the flag.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
Those are the days. Well, what about when you got into your first real job? What was your first real job out of college?
Yeah, my first big boy job out of college. So I graduated from Auburn University.
War Eagle!
War Eagle, you got it, buddy.
I'm learning.
You're getting there. So I graduated from Auburn, and literally the next day I started to work for Auburn, fundraising.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. It's nice that they let you wait till after graduation.
Yeah, I got to walk across the stage, and then they said, "Come on, boy, it's time to work." What about you?
You know what? I didn't really have a job because I went right to grad school after undergrad. And I mean, I did work during that time, of course, but my first real honest-to-goodness job, benefits, going to work every day, I worked for Thomas Jefferson University Hospital in Philadelphia.
Okay.
And back then, I thought I wanted to be a counseling psychologist instead of an organizational psychologist. And I was a substance abuse counselor in South Philadelphia. So I saw some interesting people.
I bet you did.
Yes,
I bet you
indeed.
did. That's
Good
a
times.
lot of experience right there.
It was a lot of experience
Yeah.
for sure. Yes, yes.
Well, today we want to talk briefly about transitioning from college to the workplace.
Okay.
So this episode is directed primarily at our undergraduate students who maybe don't have any real full-time real-world work experience.
Or even people who maybe went to grad school right after undergrad and didn't know what to do and are looking for something now.
You got it,
Okay.
which would be, for example, our own Sean Gibbons here. He went straight from undergrad to the MBA program. So, Sean, this one's for you, buddy.
Woohoo!
Now, it's based on a recent blog post from Rachel at the Confused Millennial blog. I thought she did a great job bringing out some pertinent points. One thing that college students and even graduate students, as they're getting ready to transition from college to the workplace, some things that they need to know. One thing is get an internship.
That's so important.
And I know here in our college, in the School of Business, we drive that point home.
We try to. And some of our programs do have required internships, and some don't. But I think it's so important that they at least get their feet wet and try something to understand if they're going to like it, but also get a little bit of experience.
And I think that's a great point. So not only is there the benefit when you do an internship of getting that experience and putting it on your resume, but like you said, figuring out if you even like it.
Absolutely. Now, did you do an internship?
I did an internship in my undergraduate. I worked for the local Chick-fil-A, so not Chick-fil-A corporate, but the local Chick-fil-A doing marketing.
Okay.
And so I did some analysis of their data, their sales data, and I did a little bit of marketing in terms of in the community. One of the cool things about that internship, I got to dress up as the Chick-fil-A cow.
Wow.
Incredible.
That's pretty. I think you might have hired somebody to do that if you were directing the marketing for the store. But
unfortunately,
if you want to dress up, that's okay too.
As the intern, I had a budget about that big.
I see.
What about you? Tell me something that you have benefited from in an internship, say when you were going through grad school.
Well, when I did my grad school internship as a master's student, it was over the summer, and it was working at a camp for at-risk youth, and that was fun and interesting, and it kind of taught me that wasn't what I wanted to do.
Which is excellent that you figured it out during an internship and not in a real world
exactly
job.
After I'd started a job and I couldn't get away from it. And then the other internship that I had was in my doctoral program. I did an internship with what used to be called Watkins Motor Lines in Lakeland, Florida, now part of FedEx Freight.
Oh.
And I did some data analysis for them and recommendations for testing and hiring and things like that. And I think that was really useful in learning a lot of the skills and applying a lot of the skills that I used in later life in other jobs.
Excellent. So, one thing that we can learn is do an internship.
Do the internship.
All right. Another point from the Confused Millennial blog post that we're referencing.
Now, is Rachel a confused millennial herself, or is she just giving advice to confused millennials?
She is a millennial. I don't know how confused she is because she seems to be giving some pretty good advice.
She's pretty savvy.
Yeah. Another thing is to say yes to everything or almost everything. Know some limits, but what this means is in that first job, when they come to you and say, hey, we need you to be part of fill in the blank project, say yes. Don't worry about whether you have the requisite skills or knowledge. You may just have to figure it out on the job. Another thing to say yes to, especially in that first job, that first gig, is say yes to social networking.
Absolutely.
Because those are the people that you're going to rely on for a number of things. It may be that you rely on them for your next job. It may be that you rely on them to do your current job better. So say yes to a lot of stuff. Build your experience base.
And it's amazing that you'll build these relationships and you never know when one is going to benefit you. Somebody you meet in passing at a cocktail party or something like that might be your boss at your next job.
That's exactly right. All right, a third thing, and this one is going to sound a little bit on the negative side, but we'll spin it in a positive fashion, is be prepared.
I got a job for you in politics, my friend.
There you go. Spin. The spin master. Be prepared to be a little bit depressed. And here's what that means. Coming out of college life is awesome for most people.
It's true.
Then you have to grow up and be an adult. When you go into your first job, and I've seen these T-shirts that are popular that say "I can't adult today." The reality is that we have to adult when we walk into the office or to wherever it is that we work. Be prepared that there are going to be surprises along the way, and we may be prone to feeling a little bit blue as a result of these.
Okay.
So for me, I'll tell you one of my biggest surprises post-college. And we were talking about this prior to recording, it's just how little money I made in my first job.
That's true. It's important to have realistic expectations, and I think a lot of people don't, maybe, when they're right out of school, not a lot of experience about what they're going to get.
Right. And, and I'll say to that point, one of my former students, as he was graduating, he accepted a job with a healthcare organization, and they gave him his compensation package. And he came to me, and as real as he could be, he looked at me and he said, "Dr. Clayton, I literally thought I was going to make $1 million when I
$1
million when I graduated from college." So his expectations were wildly out of whack.
What's interesting is I won't tell you what I made in my first real big boy job, because thinking back on it now, it's probably right around what fast food workers would like to be making right now. But it did have great benefits because it was a semi-public hospital. We had great vacations, and it was really relaxed. And I like the people that I worked with, and sometimes that's more important than the money that you're going to make.
You're right, and that was a pleasant surprise in my first job. The negative surprise was how little I made. The pleasant surprise was that we did get 4 weeks of paid vacation right off the bat.
That is nice.
meant my first big boy job, I worked 11 months out of the year.
That's nice, and especially if you're coming off of college when you're used to having a couple weeks at Christmas,
right.
and 3 months in the summer, and a spring break, and Thanksgiving, and all that. It's nice to have a good amount of vacation.
Right. So for those who are transitioning from college, whether it's undergraduate or graduate, into the workplace, know that you may be a little bit blue, but know there are good times ahead, and try to think of it in the positive fashion. So. Good stuff from the Confused Millennial.
Absolutely. If Dr. Fairmont were here,
right.
I think he would agree. I think he would say, you know what? One of the most important things you can do is get an internship and get it early. Get it somewhere in the middle of your college experience. Not necessarily, don't wait till the very, very end when you've already got your major and you've finished all your classes and now figure out, this isn't what I thought it was going to be at all, right? And you might even take a second one later on when you've cemented what you're going to do.
I agree.
And that helps you to not only, again, as we said, get that experience, but understand if you're going to like what you do day in and day out. And that's probably the most important thing that you can do in your first job.
Agreed.
The other thing that he might say if he were here, or old Dr. Fairmont, is say yes, right?
Yeah.
Be willing to take on things within reason, right, that are going to help you develop as an employee and develop as your social network.
In other words, don't play it safe and just do what your job description says.
Absolutely. And I think with the understanding that you're relatively new or it's your first job, you get a little bit more leeway when you take things on that maybe you haven't tried before. And then the last thing is to have expectations that are realistic, right? Understand that you might get rejected, you might not make a lot of money, you might really have trouble in terms of where you think you need to be and where you are. And you might have to move in with your parents.
Yeah.
And you might have to move in with a roommate. I think you moved in with your old college roommate when you got your first big boy job.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I never moved out. My first big boy job, so I was still living in my college apartment.
Like living the dream, college and work at the same time. Or the stress of college and work at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah, so be positive is the important thing.
Be positive.
Yes.
But be realistic.
That too.
Excellent. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. We want to tell you that we've got some new social media outlets, and we would love for you to hit us up on that.
Hashtag Russell Clayton. Hashtag Adam Shoemaker.
Bingo. Fairmont.
Hashtag Bingo Fairmont.
There you go. Our website is managementminutepodcast.wordpress.com. Follow us on Twitter at Bingo Fairmont, and look us up on Facebook, Dr. Bingo Fairmont's Management Minute. Finally, we'd love for you to email us, bingofairmont@gmail.com. We would love to know what topics you would love for us to cover in future episodes. We want to say a special thank you to the St. Leo University, Donald R. Tapia School of Business. We want to thank bensound.com for our intro and outro music. And of course, we could not do it without our sound engineer and researcher extraordinaire, Sean Gibbons. Finally, if you see Dr. Fairmont, tell him we're looking for him.
And be safe on that segue.
Yes, sir.